The massive council chamber floated in the void between three dying stars. Ambassador John Walker stood before 500 alien species, his worn boots clicking against crystalline floors. The Galactic Council had existed for 10 million years, cataloging every world, every species, every name with perfect precision. The prime speaker, a towering being of pure energy called Apex, demanded answers. Human of Terra, your species has deceived us. The name you gave for your world, Earth, it does not match our ancient records. Explain this deception immediately. John remained calm while chaos erupted. The insectoid hive queens buzzed angrily. The silicon-based rock lords rumbled with suspicion. The aquatic deep ones splashed in their tanks. Every species feared deception, for names held power in galactic law. Commander Lisa Park watched from Earth's flagship, her crew of 50 humans surrounded by 10,000 alien vessels. Their weapons could vaporize Earth in seconds. She gripped her command chair as John began to speak. Honored Council, we have not deceived you. Earth is what we call our world now. But you are correct. It once held another name. A name so dangerous that our ancestors buried it. A name that explains why a young species like humanity survived in a galaxy full of ancient powers. The council chamber fell silent. Even the ever-shattering mind clouds stopped their whispers. Apex pulsed with different colors, confusion, curiosity, and something else. Fear? Impossible. We have records of every world for eons. What name could be hidden from us? John pulled out an ancient data crystal, older than human civilization. Our archaeologists found this buried beneath Earth's oldest ruins. It contains records from before our recorded history. Before we were human, when Earth was called by its true name, Fortress. The reaction was instant and violent. Several species teleported away immediately. Others activated emergency shields. The warrior race called Blade Masters drew their weapons. LIES. Apex roared, its energy form blazing white-hot. Fortress was destroyed in the First War, when the universe was young. It was the prison world that held the Devourers, beings that consumed entire galaxies. No life could exist there. John continued, his voice steady. Yet here we stand, humans, living on Fortress. The prison world, the graveyard of monsters. A small gray alien called Echo spoke up, its voice trembling. If Earth is truly Fortress, then humans are. The descendants of the prison guards. John confirmed. The ones who stayed behind when everyone else fled. The ones who fought the Devourers for so long that we forgot our own origins. We evolved on a world soaked in the blood of cosmic horrors. We grew strong in the shadows of dead gods. The council erupted into chaos. Some demanded proof. Others called for Earth's immediate destruction. A few wondered if humans still guarded something buried deep within their world, not Admiral Tom Ross. Of Earth's fleet sent a coded message to all human ships. Prepare for emergency jump. We might need to fight our way home. But Apex raised its energy tendrils for silence. Show us this proof, human. If you lie, your species dies today. John nodded and activated the crystal. The chamber filled with holographic images, massive. Beings with too many teeth and eyes, consuming stars like candy. Fortress, a world covered in weapons that could crack moons. And humans, or their ancestors, standing against the darkness with primitive spears that somehow blazed with power. Images showed the final battle. The Devourers sealed beneath Earth's surface. The guards choosing to stay, to watch, to forget. Generations passing until memory became legend. Legend became myth, and myth was forgotten entirely. We named our world Earth, John said softly, because we wanted to forget. We wanted to be farmers, not warriors. We wanted peace, not eternal vigilance. But the universe has a way of reminding us who we really are. The council sat in stunned silence. Humanity wasn't a young species. They were the oldest warriors in existence, so old they forgot their own strength. Earth wasn't a backwater world. It was the most dangerous planet in the galaxy, a sleeping fortress filled with buried weapons and imprisoned monsters. And humans? Humans were the ones who guard the gates of hell. Asterisk, the revelation rippled across the galaxy like a shockwave. On Earth, strange things began happening the moment John spoke the word fortress in the council chamber. Dr. Maria Stone stood in her laboratory in London when every piece of human DNA in her samples began glowing. The same phenomenon occurred in every lab, every hospital, every home across the planet. Humans everywhere felt something stirring in their bones, an ancient memory trying to surface. In Moscow, construction worker Ivan Petrov touched a steel beam and watched it reshape itself into a perfect blade. He dropped it in shock, but the metal remembered its new form. All across Earth, humans discovered they could manipulate matter with thought alone, but only when threatened. Back in the council chamber, John continued his presentation while his own body began to change. His eyes developed a golden ring around the pupils. His reaction time increased. The council's sensors detected his muscle density tripling in seconds. "This is happening to all humans right now," John explained, watching his hands as faint energy lines appeared beneath his skin. "Speaking our world's true name has awakened something our ancestors locked away. We're remembering how to be guardians." Apex floated closer, its energy form flickering with concern. "If your abilities are returning, then the seals on the Devourers might be weakening too." As if responding to those words, Earth itself began to change. Ancient structures rose from the ocean floors. Mountains split open to reveal massive weapon installations. The moon's surface cracked, showing it wasn't a natural satellite, but a defensive station covered in dust and time. Captain James Wright piloted his shuttle over the Pacific Ocean when a city emerged from the waves. Not a ruin, a perfectly preserved fortress city with towers that scraped the sky. Similar cities rose from deserts, polar ice, and jungle floors. Each one was centered around massive seal stones that pulsed with barely contained energy. "My God," James whispered into his radio. "There are things moving under the seal stones, large things. They're trying to get out." The council watched Earth's transformation through their sensors. What they had thought was a primitive world revealed itself as the most heavily armed planet in existence. Weapon systems that predated their oldest civilizations came online. Defense grids that could stop stars from exploding hum to life. More concerning were the humans themselves. Every single one began exhibiting abilities that shouldn't exist. Children in playgrounds bent reality around them when scared. Soldiers found their weapons transforming into more effective forms. Scientists suddenly understood technologies that were impossible yesterday. Elder, VOR of the Ancient Ones, spoke for the first time in 1,000 years. "I remember now. My species' oldest texts speak of the Guardians. They weren't just warriors. They were reality shapers, beings who could enforce their will upon the universe itself. They sacrificed this power to seal the Devourers. But if the power returns, then the seals weaken," John finished. "It's a trap. Our ancestors designed it perfectly. If we ever remembered who we were, it would mean the universe needed us again. The Devourers must be stirring." Suddenly, every psychic species in the council screamed in unison. The mind clouds condensed into solid forms of pure terror. The dream walkers collapsed, babbling about hungry darkness and endless teeth. From the galactic core, a message arrived. Not in any language, but in pure hunger. Something had been sleeping there for millions of years. Something that just felt the seal's crack. Something that remembered the taste of stars. Lisa Park's voice crackled through the communication system. Earth Defense Grid is fully operational. We're detecting massive gravitational anomalies throughout the galaxy. Whatever we've been guarding against, it knows we're awake. John turned to the council, his transformed eyes blazing with golden fire. You have a choice. Stand with humanity as we reclaim our role as guardians, or flee and hope the devours. Eat you last. But know this, we held them for 1,000,000 years before we forgot. Now that we remember, we'll hold them for 1,000,000 more. The council chamber erupted in debate, but one thing was clear to all. The peaceful age was ending. The universe's oldest war was about to resume. And humanity, the species they had dismissed as primitive newcomers, were actually the veterans of a conflict older than most civilizations. Earth stood ready. Fortress had awakened. The Guardians remembered their purpose. And in the darkness between galaxies, ancient hungers stirred, testing chains that had held for so very long. Asterisk. The first attack came 3 days after Earth's awakening. Not on Earth itself, but on the mining colony of New Hope at the galaxy's edge. The entire star system simply vanished. No explosion, no debris. Just an empty space where 12 billion souls had lived. Admiral Tom Ross stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, watching the sensor data with grim recognition. It's exactly like the old records. The Devourers don't destroy. They consume. Matter, energy, space itself, all food. To them, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session. Half the species wanted to flee to other galaxies. The other half looked to humanity for answers. John Walker, now permanently changed with golden eyes and energy coursing through his veins, addressed them all. Running won't work. The Devourers exist partially outside our reality. Distance means nothing to them. The only reason they haven't consumed everything is because they're still partially sealed. But those seals are breaking. Apex pulsed urgently. How long do we have? Maybe a year before the first one breaks free completely. Less if they're working together from the inside. John pulled up a holographic map of the galaxy. 13 red. Points pulsed like infected wounds. These are the seal locations. Earth is the master seal, but there are 12 others scattered across the galaxy. Your ancestors helped build them, even if you've forgotten. The Rock Lords rumbled in recognition. The dead worlds, we were told never to approach them. Because you might have awakened what sleeps there, John confirmed. But now we need to strengthen those seals before it's too late. On Earth, the transformation continued. Every human above the age of 5 now showed guardian abilities. Most could only manage small changes, making tools sharper, healing faster, sensing danger. But some, like Captain Wright, developed much. Stronger gifts. Wright stood in the ancient fortress city, now designated as Earth Defense Command. He touched a wall, covered in symbols that hurt to look at, and suddenly understood them completely. These aren't just weapons, he reported. They're reality anchors. They literally nailed down the laws of physics to prevent the Devourers from reshaping existence. Maria Stone, now leading Earth's Guardian Science Division, made an even more disturbing discovery. The Devourers aren't from our universe. They're from a place where different rules apply. A place where hunger is the only law. They broke through once before, and our ancestors barely stopped them. The council races began contributing their own forgotten histories. The Hive Queens revealed underground chambers on their worlds that matched Earth's seal designs. The mind. Clouds admitted they had ancestral memories of fighting alongside the Guardians, but had suppressed them out of fear. Then came the second attack. This time, the Devourers were ready for resistance. When they struck the fortress world of stone, Garden, the Rock Lords fought back with everything they had. Weapons that could shatter planets barely scratched the writhing mass of teeth. and hunger that emerged from folded space. But then something unexpected happened. 3 human ships arrived, carrying just 12 guardians. They stood in space without. Suits, reality, bending around them like water. Working together, they didn't fight the devourer. They reinforced reality itself, making it impossible for the creature to exist in our universe. It retreated, screaming in frequencies that drove computers mad. The council was stunned. 12 humans had done what an entire fleet couldn't. But John revealed the cost. Those 12 won't live past the year. Using that much power burns us. Out from the inside. We're candles that burn bright, but quick when we fight at full strength. Elder Var asked the question everyone was thinking. How many guardians would it take to permanently reseal all 13 locations? About 100,000, John answered. And they'd all die in the process. That's what our ancestors did. 100,000 guardians sacrificed themselves to create the seals. But we only have 8 billion humans total, and maybe 1 in 10,000 has enough power to attempt a sealing. The math was clear. Humanity didn't have enough guardians. They needed help. Apex made a decision that shocked the entire council. Then we'll help you become more. The council will share all our technologies, all our knowledge. If humans are the only ones who can become guardians, then we'll make sure you have everything you need to save us all. For the first time in galactic history, every species united behind a single cause. Ancient enemies shared secrets. Competing empires opened their vaults. All because they finally understood humanity wasn't just another species. They were the thin line between existence and eternal hunger. And that line was starting to break. 6 months had passed since Earth's awakening. The transformation of humanity accelerated beyond all predictions. With alien technology and knowledge flooding in, humans began understanding their guardian nature in ways their ancestors never could. Maria Stone stood before the United Council, her body now partially translucent, energy flowing where blood once did. We've made a breakthrough. Guardian abilities aren't limited to human genetics. They're tied to something deeper, the will to stand between evil and innocent life. Any species can become guardians if they're willing to pay the price. The revelation changed everything. Across the galaxy, volunteers stepped forward. Not many. Becoming a guardian meant accepting that you might burn out saving others. But enough. The Blade Masters sent their finest warriors. The Mind Clouds offered their eldest consciousnesses. Even the peaceful Garden Keepers, who hadn't fought in eons, sent their bravest. Captain Wright, now General Wright, oversaw the transformation process on Earth. The ancient fortress cities had become training grounds where humans taught others how to reshape reality through will alone. It was dangerous. For every 10 who tried, only 3 survived the process. But those who did became something more than their species had ever been. The Devourers responded to this growing threat. No longer content with probing attacks, they began a coordinated assault on the Seal Worlds. The battle for Seal Point 7 became legendary. 50 Guardians, human and alien working together, held off 3 Devourers for 6 days straight. They all died, but they bought time for reinforcements to arrive and strengthen the seal. John Walker, now recognized as Guardian Prime, coordinated the defense from Earth. His body had changed so much he could barely be called human anymore. He existed partially in multiple dimensions, seeing threats before they manifested. They're learning, he warned the Council. Each attack is more sophisticated. They're remembering how we fought them before. The discovery came from an unexpected source. Echo, the small gray alien who had first recognized Earth as fortress, had been studying the ancient records. The first Guardians didn't just seal the Devourers. They sealed something else, something that could stop them permanently. Deep beneath Earth's surface, past the seal stones, Past the imprisoned devourers lay a chamber that predated the universe itself. General Wright led the expedition down, accompanied by guardians from 12 different species. What they found defied understanding. A weapon, not of matter or energy, but of pure concept. The ability to impose absolute law on reality. The power to say no to existence itself. But it was broken, shattered in the final battle against the devourers. Can we repair it? Wright asked. Maria Stone, now more energy than flesh, studied the fragments. Not repair, but we might be able to rebuild it. We'd need materials that don't exist anymore. Star core diamonds, void-touched metal, a crystallized last breath of Hoth. A dying universe. The Council mobilized like never before. Ancient vaults were opened. Impossible materials were gathered. The Hive Queens revealed they had been unknowingly harvesting star core diamonds for millennia, thinking them pretty rocks. The Rock Lords' bodies contained trace amounts of void-touched metal. The mind clouds had preserved echoes of the universe that existed before ours. As they worked, the attacks intensified. Seal Point 3 fell completely. A devourer broke free, consuming 6 star systems before 100 guardians sacrificed themselves to drive it back. The casualties mounted daily. Entire species were evacuated from the galaxy's edge as reality itself began to fray. Lisa Park, now Admiral Park, commanded the combined fleets protecting Earth. We're detecting massive gravitational distortions. All 13 seal points are under simultaneous attack. They're making their final push. John's voice echoed across all communication channels. Then we make ours. All guardians to your positions. Today, we remind the universe why they feared the name Fortress. The rebuilding was nearly complete. In Earth's deepest chamber, 2,000 guardians from 50 species channeled their power into the weapon. It wasn't just a tool of destruction. It was a statement of defiance. A declaration that some things would not be allowed to exist. But using it would require a sacrifice greater than any before. Not just life, but complete erasure from reality. Whoever activated the weapon wouldn't just die. They would never have existed at all. John Walker stepped forward. I'll do it. No, said a chorus of voices. Guardians from every species stepped forward, all volunteers, all ready to be forgotten so others could remember. The final battle was about to begin. And for the first time since the awakening, humanity wasn't standing alone. Asterisk. The 13 seal points shattered simultaneously. Devourers poured into our reality like hunger given form. Stars went dark. Entire sectors of space simply ceased. The combined fleets of 500 species barely slowed them down. In Earth's deepest chamber, John Walker and 1 guardian from each council species stood around the rebuilt weapon, the reality anchor. It pulsed with impossible light, waiting to reshape existence itself. But first, they had to reach the core of the problem. The devourers aren't just monsters, Maria Stone explained through the communication system. They're a mistake, a glitch. In reality, from when the universe was young. They shouldn't exist, but they do. The weapon doesn't destroy them. It corrects the error. General Wright led the ground defense as devourers manifested on Earth itself. The ancient fortress cities activated fully. Reality warping weapons turning the creatures into mathematical impossibilities that canceled themselves out. But 4. Every one destroyed. 3 more appeared. Admiral Park's fleet formed a protective sphere around Earth. Ships from the Blade Masters, Rock Lords, Hive Queens, and dozens of other species fought together. Old enemies became brothers in arms. The mind clouds merged their consciousness with Ship A, increasing reaction times 1,000-fold. The Deep Ones flooded space with bioelectric fields that confused devourer senses, but they were losing. The devourers adapted to every strategy, learned from every defeat. They began consuming not just matter, but time itself, aging soldiers, to dust in seconds. Then Apex, the prime speaker, did something unprecedented. The energy being merged itself with Earth's defense grid, becoming one with Fortress itself. "I understand now," Apex's voice echoed from every speaker. "The first Guardians didn't just build these defenses. They became them. Every seal, every weapon, they're not just tools. They're the crystallized will of those who chose to stand guard forever." The revelation spread through Guardian ranks. On each seal world, Guardians began merging with the ancient systems, not dying, but transforming into something permanent. The Blade Masters became living weapons. The Rock Lords fused with planetary cores. Humans dissolved into pure will, holding reality together through determination alone. John Walker watched his fellow Guardians transcending mortality. "It's time," he said simply. The reality anchor required 13 activators, one for each seal. Point. As they touched the weapon, their histories began unraveling. But instead of fear, they felt peace. They weren't being erased. They were becoming fundamental to reality itself. Echo, the small gray alien, smiled as translation matrices formed around him. "We won't be forgotten. We'll be everywhere. In every atom that refuses to be consumed. In every star that continues to burn despite the darkness." The activation was both instant and eternal. The reality anchor didn't fire a beam or create an explosion. Instead, it simply declared a truth. The Devourers never existed. Reality rewrote itself to match this truth. But paradoxes couldn't be allowed. If the Devourers never existed, why did the Guardians evolve? Why did Fortress exist? The universe solved this by creating a new truth. Guardians existed because life needed protectors. Not from one specific threat, but from all threats that would consume the innocent. The transformation was complete, but different than expected. Humans retained their Guardian abilities, but now they weren't alone. Every species that had volunteers become Guardians kept those gifts. The galaxy had gone from having one Guardian species to having 50. Earth remained Fortress, but its role changed. Instead of a prison, it became an academy. Young Guardians from across the galaxy came to learn from humanity's experience. The Fortress cities became schools where beings learned to stand between darkness and light. John Walker and the 13 who activated the reality anchor weren't erased. They became something else, living ideas that existed in every Guardian's mind. When a young Blade Master wondered if she was strong enough to protect others, she heard John's voice saying, "Strength isn't about power. It's about choosing to stand when others can't." The Galactic Council reformed with a new structure. Humanity held a permanent seat, not as rulers, but as teachers. Earth's true name was no longer hidden, but celebrated. Fortress stood as a reminder that sometimes the greatest strength was in choosing to protect rather than conquer. Maria Stone, her form now permanently energy, established the Guardian Sciences Division. They studied the fusion of will and reality, teaching species how to evolve beyond physical limitations while retaining their essential selves. Admiral Park commanded the new Guardian fleet, ships from every species working together to patrol the galaxy's edges. Not for Devourers, but for any threat that might emerge from the dark. The galaxy had entered a new age. Not of peace, that was naive, but of vigilance, unity, and hope. Every species now knew the truth. They were all capable of becoming Guardians. They just had to choose to stand watch. And Earth, ancient Fortress, stood at the center of it all. No longer alone. Never forgotten. Always watching. Forever Guardian. Asterisk.